Hello. I hope that you are enjoying the Book of Hopes as much as I am. Each week I really look forward to listening to the stories and seeing who's going to be reading them next. We're on our 8th episode now, and I wonder who it's going to be today. Our first reading will be Care of Exotic Pets, number 1, The Axolotl at Bedtime, written by Catherine Johnson and read by Mrs. Slater.
Care of Exotic Pets, number 1, The Axolotl at Bedtime. Never give your axolotl chocolate in a bottle. Serve it in a tiny egg cup, not too cold and not too hot. Make him sip it very slowly, not too much, never a lot. After all, he's just a sleepy, snuggly bedtime axolotl. Then tuck him very gently in his hand-carved wooden cottle. Turn the light out, 7:30, never later. On the dottle, sing him songs of salamanders. Give it everything you've got, as there's nothing like a tune to serenade your axolotl. Brush his gills out on the pillow, never mind the whys or wattle. Once he's deeply all a-slumber, sweetly snoring, off you trottle. Think of him, snug in his dreamland, flying kite or sailing yachtle. Then you'll sigh, you've done your duty, time to clean the pans and pottle. Come tomorrow, he'll be one fresh, keen as mustard axolotl.
Up next is Mr. Adams, who will be reading Searching for Treasure, written by Annabelle Pitcher.
Searching for Treasure by Annabelle Pitcher. Alex lay on his bedroom carpet and sighed. It was that kind of day. The world was exhaling thick, grey breath, and the birds' lungs were filled with lead. Even the flowers seemed unable to lift their heads, or so Alex imagined. He couldn't be bothered to lift his own head, to peer out of the window and look at the garden. It was that kind of day again. Rolling onto his stomach, Alex shut his eyes and buried his face in his blue fluffy rug. His door flew open. "Quick, quick, there's a voice started, and then stopped. "What are you doing?" "Go away, George," Alex said. George, his younger brother, entered the room instead. "I'm sleeping." "Liar." Alex opened one eye. "What are you doing, apart from annoying me?" George grinned. He performed a spin in his bright green wellies, then tucked his thumb beneath the shoulder straps of his dinosaur rucksack. "We're going on an adventure, like we used to." Alex shook his head. "Nah, you're all right." "But didn't you see it?" George asked. "See what?" George hopped over Alex's legs, then dashed to the window. "The rainbow, of course." Alex crawled after him, grabbed hold of the radiator and pulled himself up. "There's nothing but fog, mate." "Above the fog," George replied. "Here, you need my special binoculars." He made a pair of binoculars out of his hands and held them to Alex's face. "See it?" Alex was about to say no. He always said no lately, but his brother's hands were small and clammy with excitement. "Oh yeah," he said, pretending to adjust the focus by twiddling George's little finger. It moved something inside him as well. "You're right." George dropped to his knees. "I plotted it on a map," he said, rooting through his rucksack. "Here," He held up a page torn from an atlas. "The pot of gold is in..." His eyes shone as he pointed at the town he'd circled in pink felt tip pen. "Blackpool!" Alex said. "That's quite a distance. Do you mean Blackpool, or do you mean black pool? The pond down the road is sort of black, and it's a pool of water. Should we try there first?" "Yeah," George said. "Yeah, okay." He stuffed the map back into his rucksack, then paused. "Are you actually coming? Actually? You need some help finding this gold, right?" "Yeah," George said, but he didn't move. He was staring out of the window. The mist had thinned to reveal a nondescript sky. "But what if there isn't really a rainbow?" he asked, his fingers and face all in a knot. I can't really see one." "Can't you?" Alex replied. He made some binoculars out of his own hands, then held them up to his brother's face. Somewhere outside, a bird burst into song. Or perhaps it had been singing all along. Flowers lifted their heads towards the sky. A day, a world filling with colour. I can.
Our last reading is Sarah Crosnan's Vince, and it's read by Mrs. Forrester.
This is the story of Vince. Once upon a time there was an ugly duckling with grey frayed feathers who made sounds so awful and so often that everyone else living around the pond asked Alexa to yank up the volume on their speakers so Stormzy could drown out the squawk of poor old Vince trying to sing. Yes, Vince was very ugly indeed, but his brothers and sisters loved him all the same, because sometimes siblings can be kind like that. And yes, Vince was a terrible singer, but his mother and father believed he was perfect, because parents often feel that way, even about their noisiest ducklings. So Vince grew up and stayed just as he was, mostly, turning into a very ugly drake. But he didn't care, because many things mattered more than what he wore. Vince was the smartest of the flock, who studied medicine over at the big lake, and when he returned swinging his stethoscope and mending broken wings, everybody called him a quacking hero, because that's exactly what Vince was.